You are not going to believe what Todd McFarlane did to my comic. What is up, guys? Welcome to the Paper Chase channel. My name is John. This is my YouTube channel that I make comic book videos when I have time. A lot of times these videos can help educate you on the hobby or help give you maybe tips and tricks or just share with you my mistakes. Sometimes they're just good old-fashioned entertainment. Sometimes. In this video here, I'm going over my return from the Todd McFarlane signing. There's been a giant uproar in the community, apparently, about signing placement, colors, things like that. And guess what? I have my own data to give to you guys because I experience a little bit of good and a little bit of bad. And actually, one thing I would say is pretty amazing, what he did to my comic. But I'm going to share with you some grades, and we're going to dive into this. So, one of the things that, like and subscribe, all that stuff, if that matters to you. So one of the things that I did, and we'll get to eventually in this video, because I only have a few books to show, was I sent in an ASM 316 Mark Jewelers. I sent in 2 submissions. So the first submission only had maybe like about 3 or 4 books. I sent one in for a friend as well with that submission. And then the other one was a solo submission that happened after they reopened the submission for the closing. So I did this whole video here on a bunch of stuff to like maybe help you with the signing, like how to make special window bags and, request your color and stuff like that. Sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't. It depends on the artist and the day. All that being said, let me share with you some of the little bit of bad and that I'm not really concerned about, and some of the good that you're gonna see. So one of the books I sent in was Spawn 356, incredible Mark Spears cover. I requested it in green. It's exactly where I put the thing at. I think I said green or white. So white was probably, and that's something I like to do as well, is I'll actually request a backup color whenever I write it in, because just in case, you have a second choice. So he went with white. This is the only book from my submission that I'm selling. Everything else that I got back, I'm keeping. This is the only one that I got. And actually, I was going to get this signed by Mark Spears. This cover came out a little bit before Mark Spears kind of had his, I'm not going to say 15 minutes of fame, but his height, right, last year. So this is one of those earlier Mark Spears covers and signed by Todd. Beautiful book. It's for sale right now on my eBay. Links in the description below if you want to bid on it. Or better yet, if there's no bids on it, contact me on Instagram, and we can maybe do a separate deal off eBay. You can see on the signature, there's a little bit of waviness going on. That could just be, I don't know if that's maybe the pen was running out of ink or something was set on it. It's kind of hard to tell, honestly. It kind of almost looks like a pen was running out of ink. But you really can't tell unless you get real close on it. But I love how that looks. I think that looks incredible. The other one I did was this Spawn 88, which is an incredible, underrated Greg Pulo cover. Lantern cover, moon cover, owl cover. It's got all the things I like. And got a 9.8. And I requested the baby blue to match the background. And that's exactly where my cutout was. So, bam. I mean, he nailed it. Again, I can't complain too much when I got what I wanted. And even if I didn't get what I wanted, I don't know if I would really be all that upset. Just because they're dealing with so many books, Easier said than done, right? Now, check this out. One of the things I said in this video, and that I always recommend for anybody that's in this hobby, that's trying to fund this hobby, or just make their own collection a little more personable to them, is get creative with your collectibles. So what do I mean by get creative with your collectibles? Sometimes it's what you choose to get signed. I've seen the thing now where, some people are tearing off some pages and getting Todd to sign pages. That's one way of doing it for sure. So another way, what I did was I sent in a Batman 423. Now, long story, very short, if you don't know about this issue contains 2 color errors, and that is because the colorist forgot to color in the moon at 2 spots on this book, here and here. So I thought it would be a fun idea if in my bag I cut out and I asked Todd to finish the moon. I'm trying to create the finished moon variant. Now, after I did this cutout and I made this whole bag and sent it in, Turns out one of these popped up. He's done this before. Not saying he doesn't do this very often by any means, but he actually has done this before. And so it was cool to see that. I definitely think when you have multiple books that are signed by Todd, if you can get something custom like this that makes it unique, you're putting yourself in a different game. Like I think one guy that got his page signed said, he wrote first appearance of Venom at the bottom, and he requested that. That's what I'm talking about. That's shooting your shot. Guess what? He did it. So now it got a 9.6. We'll get to the grade in a second. Now, let me tell you about how the good and the bad of this, right? He finished The Moon. How can I not be upset? I mean, how can I be anything but pleased? He colored in right here. The stupid glare. He colored in right here. And then he colored in right here. Now, you can see by the cape part, it looks like the yellow pen was starting to run out of ink. So it's not like super yellow there, but you can see it's definitely not red anymore. And it looks so cool. I think this is so freaking cool. Now, I did request him to write his name or sign his name in yellow. I'm thinking he did this first with the yellow pen. He realized that the yellow pen was going out of ink, and so he went with white, which I am perfectly happy with that. I think a lot of these artists, even if you don't get what you want, a lot of them are in tune to what looks good, especially if they're an artist over a writer. I think a lot of them are kind of keen into like what might fit for you and color-wise and placement. So I couldn't be happier. Now, the 9.6, I'm sending it back in. This thing is so beautiful. You can see this is one of the super high contrast, high saturation copies of this book. Presents gorgeously. There is not a spine tick on this book. There's nothing. This book, I believe, was a 9.8 all day. If you send a book in to get graded, sometimes it's sitting there. Who knows what is happening before it gets to the graders table. So sometimes by the time it gets to them, it's a 9.6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it completely in its slab. I'm going to send it back for them to press it and regrade it and shoot my shot again. Am I going to sell this? Of course I'm not going to sell this. I already have one of these in a 9.8, but this is the finished Moon variant. So of course I'm not going to sell this. But there's too much value to be left on the table when it's only one grade away, and I seriously believe that it could hit that grade if it gets a fresh press. So I will be sending this back in to get regraded, and I'm super happy with it. Beautiful book. Now, the final book. I made some big claims because the second submission that I did whenever they reopened it was ASM 316, but not just any. A Mark Jewelers. And not just any Mark Jewelers. We're talking the highest grade copy of this book that I've almost ever seen. Of course, I've never seen every single one of them, but I've looked up multiple 9.8s online, looked through the slab, looked through the grader's notes, and this is one of the nicest copies of this book that I've ever seen. So I made some pretty big claims in a video that I think that this was going to get a 9.8. Turns out I was wrong. It did not get a 9.8. Got a 9.6. But look how beautiful this book is. This is a Mark Jewelers. This is so insane. Now, this right here in itself, I got to look at the comps on this, but I would think that this book is probably a $2,500 book. That's a guess, signed by Todd. We're talking about the full Todd signature 9.6 Mark Jewelers. I would think that this is somewhere around $2,500. I'm sending it back in with the Batman 423 for a fresh press and a grade, because this book in a 9.8, fully signed by Todd, is going to be ridiculous. So again, I think it's definitely got a shot. It's worth it to do it. And that's what I'm going to do. Now, they did get it wrong with the custom label. It was supposed to actually be a Venom label. So they got the label wrong. CGC did. So again, their quality control really does suck. It really does. Now, I can tell you this, as far as the whole bend gate, this thing is in there. It is straight as a board, for sure. There's no bend gate, banana gate going on here. The slab is completely intact. I lucked out, didn't get any quality issues there. I'm happy with mine. Again, try to cut them a break, if depending on what your issue is, try to cut them a break, because dude's signing a lot of books. And that's a lot, it's a lot to get done. If anything, I can see more people being upset with CGC than Todd himself. I think if anything, CGC could be more to blame about how the process is run, rather than Todd and how he signs and what he chooses to sign and all that stuff. So there you have it, a couple of beauties there. Both of them going to get another shot, just because I think it makes a lot of sense to do it. And they're going to be traveling safely in their cases. So I just think that's a perfect opportunity to do it. So there it is. What did you guys think? What did you get signed? Did you have any issues? It's always something, right? It's always something going on. It's never a perfect situation. That'll do it for this one, guys. See you on the next page.